for this bucket, and you'll see there it averages 120, 130 per month. I can set a forecast demand at the bucket level, and so that field's open for entry in this screen. In this case, it's 100. And the views below that are grayed out, which means they're aggregating up from the item below. So when you're doing your very early level planning with your portfolio item, you have a forecast demand. And this is before you know what, if it's going to be a project. You just want to throw some numbers in there to start consuming some demand and to see what it looks like. You just use a forecast demand field for that. You can throw the numbers in very, very quickly. But once you actually create the project, you then get into the role demand, and that's number 4, the planned assignment. So those are where you've defined your roles, but you haven't yet staffed those roles in the project, and so that's aggregating up from the project management component. Number 5 here is the resource assignment, and this is where you're actually staffing the roles with real people. Okay. So I had my roles number 4, but they weren't staffed. Number 5, I've now staffed my roles. And number 6 here is the actual assignment. This is the book time coming through from the CATS time entry system. So on one screen here for this bucket, we can see pretty much all you need to see is a high-level overview of how you're doing. Now, I can look and I can chart here. But what I can also do is I can identify who is providing the actual supply. So Haggerty, for example, is booked in January. He's got 76 hours of supply allocated to basis for internal projects. And then I can do it at a person level, I can do it at a role level. So then at the role level below Haggerty, you've got basis, and so I've got 46 hours, and it's all based on, you can configure how that actually rolls in terms of number of days in a month, calendar days versus working days, and so on and so forth. I can chart it, and these are real-time charts that are running in the new GyanSys tool that's embedded within PPM 5.0, and these are configurable, but straight out of the box, this is what it looks like. So here I can see my supply versus demand. And I've also got a whole suite of BW reports that are standard and they're very highly configurable as well. So you get all the typical BEX capability. In this case, I'm running a capacity overview report here. They're graphical, so you can create your different types of chart. And also, what you can do is you can set these reports up to email on a periodic basis using that information broadcasting tab. So I can get a monthly report. What we use those for is much more for exception analysis. So don't tell me what's going well. Show me where I've got a problem. Show me where I've got the demand is greater than the supply, so that I can deal with it. So that's where we use information broadcasting for. So circling back into that item dashboard within the bucket that's internal IT projects, I'm going to take a project now. I'm going to drill down into the next level. So let's take this project for PPM implementation, and now we're looking at the portfolio item. And so this is like the container that holds the high-level information against the project. And as you can see, there's quite a lot of content within here. Now, we can get into the content in another workshop or another webinar, but we're going to focus very much here on the resource management component. So with that in mind, opening up the capacity planning tab, you'll recognize the same categories, groups, and views. In this case, we've lost a couple of the views because the bucket forecast and the capacity supply are specific only to the buckets. But you recognize 3, 4, 5, and 6, and so this is in the case of 3, captured at this level. So you can see here it's the same functionality, the same configurations are prevalent at the bucket level and also at the item level. So drilling further down into the detail now, let's take a look inside the actual project itself, the detailed project, and let's look at the roles that contribute to this project. So I click on the project and the roles option, and it takes me into this screen here. So now I'm in the project management component of PPM. The roles you see here, now I can create this project from a template, or I can build this project up manually, or I can take a template and cut it down or build it up. Those are implementation type discussions, but at the end of the day, you can go from creating the item to creating the project automatically and pulling in a template through configuration in the back end. So in this case, I have a whole bunch of roles. You see various different status indicators and tool commands and different types of role, distributed versus non-distributed. But what I want to do is just look at that distribution, and you can see here now that I've flicked the radio button to distribution, and I can see for the period. In this case, I'm in a weekly period. I can see the how things are working out for each of my roles. And so taking that down to the next level, I can see, well, why are those colored the way they are? Well, you've got your total demand coming through, you've got your remaining demand, and then you've got your assigned effort, who's actually working on it. So for engineer 1, I've got 3 resources staffed to that role. Okay. The next one down, I've got 2 resources. You'll see Gorilla is hard boot because he's got that little green tick. Haggerty, you'll recognize the icon is slightly different, and that means that he's soft boot to this project. So the system has the capability to do hard and soft bookings. So this is very much a project-centric view. If I look at the actual people who are assigned to those roles now, by clicking on the resource overview screen, I can then see, well, what is their availability like? And there's a lot of red and a lot of green. So let's expand into some of those. And you'll see the second resource down, Beltramini, is doing fine up until week 7. And then they go red for a few weeks and back to green. And so the system's enterprise-wide is looking at all the various projects that people are available for. And you can set availability for a person as being, 40 hours a week, 32 hours a week, 8 hours a day. It's really up to you. A lot of companies, they want to factor in the downtime as line items in projects, the time they're not working in projects. Other companies, they want to say, well, we only have 32 hours available for projects in a given week because we spend 8 hours in various meetings and non-project functions. And that's entirely up to you. But that aggregated availability is represented here. And so all the projects that people are working on consume against those resources. And as things are changing, you can just refresh this data, and it's constantly being recalculated. It's a very powerful tool. In terms of staffing, I can staff directly from these screens, or I can do more thorough resource searches within this detailed tab here. And so in this case, what I'm going to show you is how I can look for suitable candidates for this particular role. So when I do my search, my resource search, you'll see there's criteria along the top. And obviously there's a date range. I can search by area and location. I can search within my organizational structure. And I can search using availability, and finally using qualifications if you have the need to do resource search by qualifications. And that's a whole different area. That's more of maturity level 4 or 5, but it's certainly very powerful functionality within PPM. But if I look for resources within that time frame with availability in that area and location, and then the system will then generate a list. Similar to the old Google search rankings you you may be familiar with, you get this this score calculated. And so I'm searching on suitability, availability, location, and then overall. So these are the people who are suitable. Suitable because I'm not searching on qualifications in this example. Available, so they're available to staff to the project, and they're in the right location. Now what I can also do is I can say, well, that's fine, but I want to look at one of these resources and see what their profile is like for the coming weeks. So in that case, I can just highlight Haggerty and then click on the chart button, and I can see what the role demand is.